All the things that I once thought dieting was doesn't exist. The freedom I have in Hava now gives me the time to not be stressed out about things, to feel like I'm in control, to feel like I have hope. This is not hard. It's natural. It's normal. It makes you feel normal. You eat normal. You can have cake. You can relax around food.
Molly Winsell is one of the first people to try the new satiety approach for healthy weight loss. Here's her story. Welcome, Molly. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you. It's really good to be here.
You interacted with us a little bit on social media after having tried this satiety approach. I thought it was really exciting to talk to you about your experience. Do you want to share a little bit about your story and your experiences?
Okay. Well, you would think that just after 2.5 months, it would just be just a little bit to share, but it's actually a kind of a complex story because I actually feel like I know you, although I'm probably very new to you, just a couple of months that I've been interacting on the Hava website, but I've known you for probably about 6 years. As the diet doctor. So I'm going to start at where I think is the most interesting, my story with Hava, which is not going to make sense at first because I have to back up to pre-COVID. So before COVID, I was doing really well on the Diet Doctor website. I had lost weight. My husband, everybody I know was using that website. And it's, in my opinion, a premier, outstanding website. So that was my introduction to you. Is through that website. And then COVID hit and I gained weight during COVID, went off any kind of diet. I think most people did. And being a school teacher, I'm in my classroom, COVID was very isolating even when we came back to school because we were under a lot of stress trying to figure out how to teach on a computer and I teach younger children, and then how to help and support parents. And so the stress was really high. So I did not think about what I was eating, gained weight. And then after COVID, about almost 2 years ago, I stepped into my pool to exercise and to try to get back into health and nutrition. And I rolled both my feet and I seriously sprained both my ankles. And then after they healed, I just went about my life, did all the things that I wanted to do, like went on vacation and then started my classroom in September. And it's a pretty physical job being a teacher. Then I had to go in for an x-ray because I couldn't stop limping and I had broke my foot and didn't know it. And that led to a knee injury on my right knee. And then I blew out my left knee. So now I've gained weight from COVID. I now have gained weight from an injury that's lasted almost 2 years. And I had all this inflammation going on and then arthritis set in. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to manage all of this. So I was doing what anybody would do. And I got on YouTube and I was searching for like, what diet should I go on and for inflammation. And I didn't want to go back on keto because keto causes me to have leg cramps. And with all these injuries, I couldn't handle it. So then I went on Weight Watchers. This was right before I found out about Hava. My phone popped up with a $10 a month for Weight Watchers. And I thought, okay, well, I'll do that. And then that's when they had the clinic and they started to introduce me to the shots. And I thought, well, that would be great. I could just take shots and get out of all of this misery. So it was about that time that I was searching through YouTube and saw at one point I saw your teaser where you just had this podcast. Well, it was on YouTube and it was explaining that you were wanting to introduce a new approach to eating. And I was so shocked. I'm like we're talking about, in my opinion, you are like the pinnacle of the keto world. And there's a lot of great, I have had you in that esteem. So when I saw you kind of doing this teaser about a new way of thinking of eating, I'm like, my world was like shook. And I know that reading some of the comments from your subscribers, I thought, oh my gosh, what is he doing? This sounds a little crazy to me. Why would somebody so successful and a leader in this industry now come out with this? So I could not help but watch every second of that video. You had a doctor on there that was talking about the longitudinal study they did on, I think it was longitudinal, but like low fat diet versus like a ketogenic diet, and that you have really great results up to a point. And then once you've lost weight, you have great health results because you're actually losing the weight. And I do think keto and low fat do have its place and have a lot of health benefits. But at one point, you were saying that it levels off and it plateaus. Then you just give this little teaser about what satiety is and what you were wanting to do with Hava. And the other thing that really got me is you have a high quality. So like even the green that you chose for Hava and just the pictures that you choose, and you even said this, like you want it to be beautiful.
You should know how much time and discussions we had about the green.
Well, I hope to bring up that green, why that's important to me later. But what I'm saying is that teaser sustained me for a while, but then the shots were coming. And I'm like, I don't know what satiety is, but I know that doctor would not take this type of risk if he didn't believe in it. So then I get these doctors calling me about shots, and the shots were delayed. I never was able to get my hands on them. And then Hava's coming faster and faster. And then the Hava app launched, and I was signed up for it. And now I have this Hava app, and then I have Weight Watchers, and I have shots. And not only that, but so the whole keto movement was moving from like I'm 61 years old. And so I remember keto being Atkins back in the 80s. And so there were two camps. There was like the low fat camp. They were eating snack wheels and pudding cups. And then there was this Atkins thing going on that had just started. And I thought that was confusing then, but it's gotten so confusing because keto's now moving to carnivore, and before carnivore, there was what was it? Intermittent fasting, and it's like there's all these new layers. You have to up your game, up your game, up your game just to lose weight. So to make a very long, this is a long story. It is a long story. For me, it's been a long journey. I can like overdose on information and get very confused. I made a decision when you launched Hava. It's like, I can't be listening to everybody because everybody's taking me into so many different directions. I'm so confused, and I don't have much time left in terms of like, there's a gift of being 61. Like there's no more Mondays. I can't wake up and say, well, I really blew it on my diet, so I'll start Monday. Well, you can't do that when you have injuries and you have inflammation and you're 61, and I'm retiring in 4 years, and I want to go to Europe, and I want to be able to do stuff. And I can't do that if I have weight and inflammation, all that. So I decided to listen to one voice. And because out of all the people I do respect in this community, I still listen, but I don't listen to the point where I'm just going to direct how I eat. So I have been doing Hava for 2.5 months, and I've lost, as of this morning, 22 pounds. And that's the most.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, thank you. That's the most weight I have lost in the shortest period of time. Without starving and eating food and eating what I want, and pretty much when I want, as long as the number that I chase is the protein number. So I don't even know what your question was, but
I just wanted to share your story from your perspective. So I think you did that in a really interesting way, and I have lots of follow-up questions, of course. What's the experience been like, and challenges, and what's been good and what's been bad, whatever you can share.
When I first started it, I was mostly on the low carb side of it. And I did discover that my husband's on keto. He has an autoimmune disease. So he's been able to cut his medication in half just on using the ketogenic diet. I, on the other hand, don't know if that's the right diet for me. But when I first started Hava, I stayed very close to a low carb diet, and I was still able to hit the middle of this. Is that the scale? What does that call?
Yeah, the satiety scale from 0 to 100.
That's
right?
What I call it. Yeah. Okay. So just when I first started the app, I was doing low carb, and I was able to hit the middle every single time. And I've also done low fat. And I've been able to hit the middle. And so just in those experimentations, I was able to realize like it doesn't really matter.
It's
The
more
Hava
freedom, right?
app,
You can do
it's
it either way.
it's freedom, it's control. So I think of the satiety scale as like a gas pedal. So when I want to lose more weight, I go more towards the blue end of the scale. And this is hard to believe, but actually can lose too much weight too fast. And I don't want to lose a lot of weight really fast. I want to lose probably about 1.5 pounds a week is my goal. And the reason for that is because I have come to find out that every 10 pounds I lose or every 12 pounds I lose is expensive. Like I have had to now go through 2 dress sizes. And I also don't want to lose weight too fast because I want to keep my muscle. Like I said, 61 years old and I need muscle. I don't want the skin
Absolutely.
issue problem. So with the Hava app, if I stall, I just go to the blue end. And so it's almost like a control, like a gas pedal.
I like that analogy. That's a cool analogy, like a gas pedal. Like how fast do you want to go? You can pick and choose, sort of.
Yeah, it puts me in control. But in the long run, from the time that I've started Hava to now, what I have discovered is the number that I'm chasing is that protein number. It really, for me, and it might be different for other people. So I can have a pretty high fat day. I might even get up into about like 150 carbs some days. But as long as I hit the satiety number, and what happens in Hava is it pops up where it's pretty much telling me you've hit your satiety goal, you've done a great job. And so that actually, out of all the numbers that I can possibly look at, I look at the 90, I'm at 90 grams of protein. And once I hit that and that little Hava person, it's not a person, the AI comes, it feels like a person. When AI pops up and tells me I've done a good job, then, and it's so funny because if I'm 2 grams short, I'll go get a cheese stick just so that she'll pop up and give me an attaboy. So that I have had some really strange experiences with Hava that tell me that protein number is the number to chase. So when you're on a low fat diet, you're looking at like 12 to 1,800 calories. When you're trying to do really good on keto, you're chasing that 20. And on Hava, it's come down to that protein. And that every time I've done that protein number and every time that I've gone to the middle, I lose weight at a rate that I'm happy with. I hit my satiety goals. So I need to tell you what happened when I first started Hava.
Yeah,
It was
please do.
Super Bowl Sunday, February 12th. And that was my first big experiment with satiety. And in the app, it said I could have meatballs. And I'm like looking at my husband like, I can have meatballs. You can have meatballs. We're going to have meatballs. We're not going to have anything else because we want to test this out. So I made meatballs with marinara sauce and some, mozzarella cheese and some sourdough bread that I had toasted. And I even put butter on it. And I thought, okay, so this app says I can eat this and I'm going to be full and that's okay, let's try this. And usually for Super Bowl, I make a big spread and then overeat and then, tell myself I'll start dieting on Monday. Well, I set out the meatballs and my husband's attitude was like, is this all we're having? And I'm like, well, according to this philosophy, this is all you'll want. So we had 3 meatballs each. We were so full, we did not even eat dinner that night. We were done. And that
That's
was my
good.
first experience with satiety. I'm like, well, that's weird. That was my first experience where I'm like, okay, so that shut down my appetite. It shut down food cravings, but that was just one experience. So the next experience I had where it shut down satiety, so I kept doing the middle. I
So when you say the
decided
middle, sorry to interrupt,
middle.
but when you say the middle, is it like 50 or like between
It's like
45 and
this straight up.
55, or you try to
It,
go kind of straight up around 50 then?
yeah, around 50. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
the other experience I had, if I keep on the 90, and I have to keep at 90 grams of protein for several days to really hit the satiety, the feelings of being able to not think about food, not have food chatter, not to have food cravings. So I decided to have popcorn and experiment if I could even like have something like that, because that's my kryptonite. I Popcorn and I love each other, and
Hmm.
to think of
Yeah.
a life without popcorn is not fun. So I buy healthy popcorn, sat down to eat it. Usually, like on Weight Watchers, I would have to measure out the popcorn and then really be unsatisfied and want more popcorn and end up going and getting more popcorn. But I had been not like craving popcorn. I was just experimenting with, well, what if I put a yellow food in here? Like, is this going to make me crazy? So I did that. I got a bag of popcorn. I didn't put in a bowl, I didn't measure it. And I had probably about 3 cups and I didn't want any more. And that was the second time where I'm like, okay, meatballs worked. And eating uh, up around 50 and then enjoying like a decent sized bowl of popcorn did not make me a crazy person and send me into a carbohydrate, frenzy. So that was another thing that I figured out as I was going along, is that hitting that 50, but I have to keep in that zone for quite a long period of time before I can really dip down into the yellow zone and bring in a food.
But do you
That's
try
my
to sort of balance it out with something that is higher in satiety, or yeah?
Yeah. So as I got more experience with this, I'm talking about like the earlier parts of the
Mhm.
Hava experience, but now and I'm glad you asked that, because I was wondering if I'm even doing this right or if there is a right. So if I want to have like I love ribeye as my favorite, popcorn and ribeye, that would be it. That's
Popcorn and
all I
rib,
would need.
good combo.
Yeah, I think so. So ribeye is very high in fat. And I'm not afraid to eat a ribeye. I'm not afraid to eat fat because I have been keto for so long. But if I'm going to have a ribeye, then I'm not going to have like mashed potatoes. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have the ribeye and I have some good vegetables and maybe a salad, and that would be my meal. And I would hit
Mm.
satiety, no problem at all. But last night we went out to dinner. Everybody's birthday. So it was one of like everybody's birthday. Bring everything. It's everybody's birthday. Everybody needs to celebrate in the way they need to at this restaurant we were at. So I did want mashed potatoes, but I paired it like I always do with trout, because then it's like you can have your trout or eat your mashed potatoes and have your trout too, but I'm not going to have trout and mashed potatoes. Now I don't know if that's just in my head, but when I put it in to the Hava app, then it does well for me. So I can mash potatoes with the trout, put me where I needed to be, and have the vegetables. I couldn't even eat it. That's the other thing that I haven't mentioned is like I get to the point where I serve myself dinner or someone serves me dinner and I'll be 3 bites in and I'm pretty much done. And that I don't understand. The thing that really is disruptive in this journey with Hava is in the yellow zone. On April 27th, I had to go to a conference, and I had been doing well on Hava. I hadn't had any episodes. I didn't overeat. And I went to a breakfast place, coffee place, drive through, and you had talked about if you were going to go get a burger, just take off the bread. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go. I don't want to be too hungry at the conference. They're going to have food that's not healthy. So I'm just going to get a sausage and egg, and take off the bun. And I did that. And then I had a little bit of coffee with some cream so that I had that satiety going on before I went into the conference. But at lunchtime, the salad that they had the worst dressing. It was like the worst quality dressing that you could ever have. And I knew that that was going to really not do well with my satiety, because one of the things I've learned is the higher quality of food you have, the more the satiety is, you'll hit.
Pretty much,
I
yeah.
feel more, yeah. Okay, so this was bad, bottle dressing, awful, and it was warm. So I couldn't eat the salad. It was disgusting. And then they had lunch meats, which I know lunch meats are high on satiety. And I knew I can have bread if I'd like, but there was something wrong with the lunch meat, with very bad quality food. So it's not like getting really good quality deli meat. It was like, could you get the worst possible food and serve it up to teachers? Because we deserve that. So, so that did at lunchtime, I had not hit satiety. And because I think I got breakfast from a fast food place, I don't know that that's actually food anymore. I'm no offense to fast food restaurants, but I'm really questioning if I have sausage and eggs at home, I can go most of the day without eating.
Yeah.
But it really threw me for a loop. So
Yeah,
then,
they always use the cheapest ingredients, right?
yeah, so I don't think you can. I'm thinking now that's satiety, and you talk a lot about the quality of your food. So I'm in a situation now where it's the afternoon and I'm starving. I'm starving, and I haven't been starving like forever. And then they had snack tables. Every room you went into, every single thing, what is it called? Every single
That's a
workshop.
challenge. Yeah.
No, there was like potato chips and Cheetos and Doritos and chocolate chip cookies. So I was so hungry that I actually went and I said, you know what? I can handle a bag of Cheetos, and I love Cheetos. I went and got the bag of Cheetos, and I won't even, it's so terrible. After that, it ended up being 4 bags of Cheetos. I noticed that if I go all the way down to that yellow and I eat something like Cheetos, that will trump everything. That turns
Yeah.
me into like a crack addict.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I
that's what
know
it's
not
meant
to
to
do
do,
that.
right? That's what they designed it for.
Yeah, it's very obvious to me that we are definitely being manipulated. And when you're on Hava, one of the things you have to realize is that that food is a manipulation. So when you're gonna eat yellow, I can do just fine with a pat of butter on my broccoli and not go crazy. But
Mm.
it's those highly refined. I can eat a piece of bread and be all right. But if I hit
Yeah.
any of those high satiety, no, hedonic
Super low.
foods,
Yeah. Very
I'm
hedonic.
done.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we said, I mean, those foods are pretty much addictive for anybody. It's just a question of how sensitive we are and how sensitized we are.
Yeah.
But they're designed to be addictive.
I guess the takeaway for me is I'm glad I had that day, because it brings a stronger point of why I appreciate and why Hava is working for me is that I bought into some diet rules that I don't think Hava incorporates. So one of them is that overeating has been my fault. It's because I lack willpower, or I'm a healthy eater. I always have been. I was raised in the 70s by a hippie mom who, you know, beans was, we eat that almost every night, and she made everything from scratch, even bread. So it's not that I'm not a bad eater. I don't eat Cheetos per se. Um, but if for some reason I haven't been able to get control of food cravings, and for the last 2.5 months, I have been, other than that Saturday, and it did take me 2 days after that to work out of it by really watching that 90 grams of protein and cleaning up my diet. After about 2 days, I was back in control. So one of the things I appreciate is that I no longer feel like I lack, willpower, desire to do this. I don't have to, I don't actually think about it anymore. I don't think about food constantly. I don't think about a diet constantly. But if at 61, I can do this at 22 pounds in 6 weeks and not have a nightmare going on in my head, I don't need shots. I don't need pills. All I need is to make sure that just every day I have to focus on one thing: 90 grams of protein. Like, that is not a big deal. It really is. It's very easy. So I don't torture myself anymore with like, I'm such a failure. I just like, no, I'm not. I just
No.
was eating the wrong foods, so every now and then.
Yeah, I don't think it's about willpower. It's about the food environment we're in. If we had a different food environment around us, nobody would be talking about willpower about food, because there would be no need to. It's just we're in this food environment, and then that's the way I see it, at least. And then we need to find some way to deal with that or suffer the consequences, sort of. And
Yeah.
I mean, guess you are. I like this idea of getting enough of something. It's to me, at least, it's much nicer to strive to eat enough of something good instead of trying to not do something, or like have points that run out or something, or calories
Or
that run out.
yes,
Now
and
it's
then
like you should have enough protein. You don't have enough protein yet. Well, here are some suggestions. Maybe you want some of this. Maybe you want some of this. It's a more positive message, I think.
Yeah. It does not feel punitive at the end of the day. And in fact, the weird thing about this is that at the end of the day, I do look at the calories, but not like I would on another app that I've used. I look at the calories actually to make sure I've had enough calories, because there have been probably more times that I have not even hit 1,000 calories. And it shocks me. I'm like,
Oh
how
wow,
is that possible? Well,
that's low.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's possible when I just ate a piece of chicken and I just had a salad and I just
Mm-hmm.
had real dressing, and I'm still, at under 1,000 calories. So I have to be careful that I won't be hungry and I don't think about eating. And if you were to ask my friends, they're saying, Molly, did you eat? I'm like, oh, that's right. It's because I just don't think about it. And I had
Yeah.
mentioned to you,
All these
and
numbers, they're not so exact anyway. It's hard
that's
to
true.
count them exactly. I think as long as you feel fine, as long as you feel satiated and you have energy, I don't think there is really no reason to care much about it, I think.
So I have gotten to the point where I've automated a lot of my meals, and the infographics have helped me with knowing the foods that are going to be as blue as possible. So I have a grocery list. I know those foods. I go in, I get them, and for the week, I pretty much eat the same foods.
So what are
I
your
bought
favorite go-tos? What does a typical day of eating look like?
So I have the bento boxes, and actually, you had a podcast where you talked about the good gut, and I had read it like a couple of months ago. I have it on my bookshelf, and that kind of made me thinking about like gut health, and you guys were talking about the importance of that. So I thought, I have an idea. I got a bunch of bento boxes, and then one bento box I fill up with gut healthy foods like cottage cheese or yogurt. And you guys talk a lot about yogurt.
Yeah.
Um, and so in the bento box, I'll either put cottage cheese or I'll put yogurt, and it's high protein and low fat. And then I use keto granola. I don't want the sugar in the granola. And then so one of the compartments is the granola. And then I'll have the string cheese is really high in satiety. Who knew? But prosciutto. So I'll put a little slice of prosciutto in there. And let's see, I might put some olives. And I had made the mistake on one of your infographics. I thought that you were saying that pistachios was high in satiety, and it was not. It
Oh,
was,
not so,
and it's
unfortunately, a
okay.
bit low on the
It
lower
is,
side.
it is. And it also is too, it's too high. For me, it's just a food that I might overeat a little bit. Um, so it's edamame and I thought it
Oh
was
yeah,
just a
super
mistake
high.
that I made. It looks just like, anyway. So I was putting pistachios in there, but then when I realized it was edamame, I know it's silly. It's a silly mistake, but, I mean, it's not even worth mentioning,
Wh-
but what is worth mentioning is that I did switch out for the edamame. And so that's just another high satiety food that actually has all these benefits to it. So in the bento box, I took out, I have no nuts anymore because I have learned that nuts are something that I will overeat. So it's in the bento box. And so one day I'll take the high satiety food, and then the next day I'll take the gut one. So I made up after listening to you guys. I put in I'll put in fermented foods like fermented carrots, and actually I found a fermented cottage cheese. That's the one I'll use for that box, and some cabbage that's been fermented, and some pickles, and so I kind of alternate back and forth, and that's what I eat for lunch, or I'll just do a protein shake. Somebody had said something on the pot had in the comments that when they have a protein shake, it spikes their insulin levels. And I haven't had that problem. I think it's because I'm still using like a keto shake. So I'll do not like an
Yeah,
not
I
a
think
name
your protein
brand.
shakes are pretty high in satiety the way we
Yeah,
predict it with our algorithm at least.
really
Not that
high.
I mean real foods that you chew etc. are always of course potentially even better, but if you're going to go for something quick, I think a protein shake is extremely high satiety per calorie at
Yeah,
least.
so I do that. I have a blender here in the classroom, and I can put some other things, some other nutrients in there. So sometimes I'll just have a protein shake. But filling up those bento boxes, make, about seven of them for the week. And then I don't have to think about it. Then I'm getting my gut health, I'm getting satiety, or I'll have a shake if I feel like it. I do use a low carb, high protein shake. I don't have the sugar in it. And even when I get hungry, like on the way home, I'll be like really quite hungry, but it's a different kind of hunger. It's not a hunger driven by food cravings because of poor quality carbohydrates.
Hmm.
It's an
But if
actual
you feel
hunger.
hungry, do you have any favorite snacks that you like that can
Um,
be good in satiety?
well, just recently because of the info, I really like your infographics. The infographic that you sent out about prosciutto was surprising to me. So is the string cheese. But if you take string cheese and you wrap it in prosciutto and a low carb tortilla, and then you just put it in the air fryer, those are pretty good.
So you talked a little bit about mistakes along the way. Do you have any other mistakes to tell people about that they might be able to avoid?
Well, one of the things that with the photo app makes my life easy. I have 30 minutes for lunch, and of course, I work with almost all women, and they get out their apps, and it takes them most of their lunch to put in all their food, and it takes me 10 seconds to if I have something. If the bento box is I've already I like that I can save my food and then just slide it in. But if I change up the bento box, which I do because I get bored easily, when I take a picture of any of my meals, what I've learned is not to get obsessed with whether it's completely accurate or not. So one time I had done a photo and I don't know what I made, but it said it was beef stroganoff. I'm like, no, not even close. It was just one thing, and so it takes me 10 seconds to undo that and to put in the food that it is. But you and I had talked about like it's the whole thing about the accuracy isn't that important. So the mistake I made at the beginning was trying to make everything that I put in there is accurate to the measurement, make it accurate, and it's the right food or the right, can I find the right brand or any of that. That has not had any real implication on my weight loss. It made me slow down, and this isn't supposed to be a long, tedious, laborious thing. So now I just use a photo app. I search it real quick. If it's off just a little bit, I don't really fix it. But if it's beef stroganoff is definitely, and it was a cauliflower thing, and I can
Oh, that's
understand why. It's like I am not going to take the hit on beef stroganoff when it's cauliflower. So I did just tweak that. So I guess what I'm saying is to people who are wanting to experience this app is don't get hung up on every little thing. It's really not about that.
I like your approach. I think it's wise. Shouldn't sweat the small details. It's not really about that. It's about the big picture. And you're saying you don't really care if the photo tracking is slightly off. You just it's all right. Doesn't matter. You don't have to spend lots and lots of time making sure every little gram is perfect.
No.
So you say your friends, they use other apps and they take a long time to log their food, and you just take a picture, 10 seconds done.
And
Is
I've
that
taken a
true?
picture of their food and showed them, here, watch this. And they, yeah. And
What do they say about that?
they're so weirded out about me right now and this app, this satiety thing, because they've seen me lose 22 pounds like in a short period of time. I said this, I had said this in one of the comments. I know we're talking about weight loss, and weight loss is great. And we're talking about, the quality of your food and whatnot. But I think what has not been mentioned in anything that I've heard about satiety is the energy. So, losing 22 pounds, two dress sizes in 2.5 months is great, but it's not as great as how I feel. How I feel is I'm 61, and everybody I work with is, anywhere from 10 to 20 years younger than me, and I have more energy. I even told my 8, 9-year olds like, I'm a little fighting, I'm running circles around you. I haven't had this much energy in forever. And I think it's because I'm getting nutrients. I think it's because the protein is sustaining me. I don't have the simple carbs that are making me feel like my blood sugar spikes have been very stable. And everybody should be really concerned about their digestive system and how often that's going on for you. Because when your digestive system's working well, you're sleeping well, you pain, and it will lower pain levels because you are getting control of the inflammation. Then that's what we should be chasing, is just how are you feeling, and are you like, I can put a lot of time and energy now into the things that I want to do. I'm not having to figure out diets anymore. I'm not having there's so much time that I am saving that I do want people to understand this. Like, if you're like in your 40s and you figure this out, you don't have to live with diet mentality the rest of your life. I am really concerned that people are taking shots. I think there's a place for it. I think there's people that need it. I'm probably one of those people that really could have used those shots. But I am grateful that I did not choose to do it. If you are stuck and you're constantly trying to figure it out, and after all these years, it's been like traumatic. Dieting has equaled trauma, weight gain, trauma. This is the first time that it's just not about a psychological battle. It's not about restriction. I had birthday cake last night, and I still got on the scale and lost weight because and it was a good quality birthday cake. It wasn't like, some
Hope you enjoyed
crummy
it.
cake. It was so good. It was a lemon cake. So it's I think this is what we need to do. But I just hope people will try satiety before they try some drastic measures. Because if you feel good on Hava, if you feel good with satiety and you don't feel good with extreme measures, like, why should that be the goal? Just like I want to lose weight so desperately that I'm willing to have extreme heartburn and headaches and be chained to and a slave to medications. I think we're going down the wrong path. And for you to have an app that can cater to keto and can cater to low fat, and where a person like me can say, I really am going to push the low carb right now because that's what I feel like I need. And I really need to cut down on the fat. That's really what I need. I'm able to go through my days now on just asking myself, what am I in the mood for? And because whatever I'm in the mood for is probably what my body needs. So I can have like a couple of days of meat salad, some cheese and whatever, and just lower carb. And then I can go like just cutting out a lot of the fat because I didn't feel like I needed it. That gives me a lot of freedom. And it also allows me to experiment with what my body needs, where other diets don't. It's like, you absolutely can't have this food because if you do, you failed. Or you went, like you said, you went way over your calories today. You're a failure. And then you feel for me, it was like, then push me into, okay, well, Monday, I'll just start all over again and I'll be perfect. And I will make sure I have enough points or don't go over my points. And so now I'm just going to eat like crazy, eat all the bad stuff because it's not Monday yet. So it's gotten me out of that.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to do it. Just like you said. So if people are thinking about getting started, or they're just getting started, what would be? I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but what would be your top tip? The number one thing to think about when you get started doing this.
My top tip would be, first consider where you're at right now with how you're eating, because everybody's coming in with rules and a mentality. Like, there's not a woman on this planet who every few months it's a new diet. Every few months, here's are my rules, and that's it. I'm cracking down. So there's a lot of rules that we come and okay. So there's a lot of rules and that you have like embraced, and it's actually like, I don't want to call it brainwashing, but when we talk about diet tribes, it's almost like political. There's, your liberals and your conservatives. When it's a diet tribe, it's like, I'm plant-based. Well, my protein needs to come from meat. It's just so crazy. And with
Very
the
tribal.
women, yeah, very tribal. I work with my best friends. We've been together for 13 years, working in the same. We've been traveling life for 13 years together, and we can be very weird about dieting. So I'm thinking about somebody coming into Hava, and right now this is actually what I'm experiencing. So we have been team Weight Watchers. We've gone to Weight Watchers together. We've starved together, literally have starved together, and then had our cheat meals where we go and eat like all the pancakes because we lost a pound. And we have been tribe keto. Definitely, we've done that many times. I had work. One of my best friends lost 40 pounds twice in the last few years. So she loses it and then gains it, loses it and gains it. And that's my concern. So if I'm thinking about somebody who wants to try Hava, I think the number one reason would be to not keep losing and gaining and losing and gaining. And the only way you can do that is to become a moderate. Like, don't be conservative or liberal with your diet. Be a moderate. Like find where there's really no argument in Hava. It's like, I don't need to be way over to the right or way over to the left unless I want to be. Like, if I feel like I really want to pull my diet over to a more conservative type of diet, I can do that. And I can do that for, a few days, a few weeks, and watch my scale and how I feel. And if I feel like, and that's happened to me, like, oh my gosh, I'm losing weight too fast. So it's like, well, I didn't have to jump off the Hava bandwagon because it's not a bandwagon. I just went, okay, wait a minute. And then I pull it back to the middle. And then recently I've been dipping more into that yellow because it's been birthdays and conferences but no damage done, still losing weight. But I know I can just pull back to the middle. So that green zone, that green moderation, everything in moderation, I can think of a million things to say about how that green zone is the best zone. So
It's
I'm
interesting, like you said, you could be like conservative on Tuesday and liberal on Thursday
yeah,
if you want, if you feel like it.
and
That's an
benefit and benefit.
interesting approach.
Yeah.
You can do what you feel
So
like.
yeah, what I feel like. Yeah. And what a question for a chronic dieter to ask herself. What do I feel like eating today? What do I feel like? And I have all that available to me. I don't have any more, oh, I blew it, it's all over feeling anymore. Even after that Saturday, it did take me a couple of days. I did find myself 2 days after that Saturday. There was a bag of pretzels here, and I did eat them uncontrollably. So I learned from that, but it didn't derail me. It wasn't about points, and it wasn't about 20 carbs. It was about like, okay, so I now know that living for a few days way down in that yellow zone is going to send me into being out of control. But I never said, okay, well, I'll start on Monday being in the green zone. It wasn't like that. It was just like, well, I can do that right now. It's like my dinner, green. But the women I work with, who I love dearly, they are not understanding this.
So how could we potentially make them understand it, do you think? What do you think is the challenge there? It would be interesting to hear your point of view.
Well, just the other day, one of them said, okay, tell me about this Hava. I know, like, they finally are uh, frustrated. Because when I started Hava, everybody kind of started, it was after Christmas. And so everybody started kind of going back on diets. And so everybody kind of got into their tribes. And then here I am, not in a tribe, I'm in the Hava zones. And so one of them is finally saying, okay, what is this you're doing? But it's really hard to explain. So now that she's kind of fallen off her bandwagon of the diet that she's been on and is dissatisfied with her results and how she's feeling, now she's starting to pay attention to what I'm doing. And so now she does want to know. And with the infographics, it's very easy for me to explain to her, like, here's all the foods that anybody would eat. And when I eat the foods in the green and the blue zone, then I start to lose weight. And that's a visual I can show them. So
Hmm.
that's piquing one of their interests. The other one is just not even ready to even be on a diet right now because they've got so much going on, but they're getting
Sure.
ready.
Sure.
And I don't even want to call it a diet.
I think diet has other connotations. At least for me, it's like, or at least for a lot of people, I think it has about restriction and about something temporary. And I think this is, in a sense, the opposite of that, because it's there is no restriction. You can eat anything as long as you find a good balance for you, and there is never you can never there's no restriction in the sense that you can't run out of points or anything. It's just if you're hungry, eat how much, as much as you want. Just
Yeah, I
pick the right foods for you and then eat as much as you want.
right, which is how a normal person eats. And that's probably the biggest reward, even beyond the weight loss. And the energy is the biggest reward.
How do you feel about this whole journey? How does it make you feel, and what do you think about the future with this? What do you feel about it?
That green zone it means life. It means that I get to love life. It means I'm in control. It means that all the things that I once thought dieting was doesn't exist. It's now I have come to the determination that the freedom I have in Hava uh, now gives me the time to not be stressed out about things, to feel like I'm in control, to feel like I have hope, and to feel like in 4 years when I'm headed to retirement that I want to swim the Great Barrier Reef, and I want to climb up. I want to hike. There's so many things I want to do, and I have not. With all of the mounting things that I have been going through over the last 2 years, it would be really easy for me to fall into depression, and I haven't, because I think of a situation more as a challenge. And when it comes to dieting and it comes to finding something that I can do that is so easy and effortless, with just minor preparation, I really feel hopeful that I'm going to be able to be over in your neck of the woods and be able to like be the tourists. Americans don't walk a lot. So that is my hope. My hope is to get over there and do all the walking and see all of Europe, and down to the Great Barrier Reef and do some snorkeling. Well, that's where I'm headed.
Thank you so much, Molly, for the talk and the inspiration.
Well, thank you for Hava, and I really encourage you and your team to keep it up, and to make sure that information is given to normal people. Normal. We're not like, I'm not a doctor, so I just am. I had said a while ago, like, just putting blind trust and faith into your company, because so far so good, and as the information comes out to people like us, if people understand like that, this is not hard. It isn't. It's natural. It's normal. It makes you feel normal. You eat normal. You can have cake. You can relax around food too. It's I'm not. There's been a couple of days food has made me nervous, but the vast majority of the days I have not been nervous around food. I ignore it. People eat it in front of me, and I have no compulsion for it most of the time.